Ashraf Garda Show, live and exclusive on Salam Media and One Nation FM.
So, what's been going on in Pakistan? Imran Khan, the former Pakistani cricket captain, now the former Pakistani Prime Minister. How significant is that? I've certainly seen video clips coming out of the big cities in Pakistan of massive crowds in support of him, but he's not the PM anymore. So, what happened when someone has got that much support is not the person in power? What's the backstory to all of that? We'll get two takes around this issue. We'll be chatting pretty shortly to Ahmed Quraishi, who is based in Pakistan. But for now, let's get closer to home from a South African perspective with Rana Ghulam Abbas, the General Secretary of the Pakistani Association of Southern Africa. Rana, appreciate your time. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum. And good morning to all my listeners.
Good.
On this situation, every Pakistani who's staying out of his country is very upset and sad on this current situation. In my opinion, this is a forced regime change under the influence of American, and it is totally unfair and illegal because it is against the will of the people of Pakistan, which is fundamental of any democracy, that is government of the people by the people. So everywhere in the overseas Pakistani, in the whole world, they are saying this is all this regime change in Pakistan. Because Imran Khan is the true leader of Pakistan and is, if I'm not wrong, is a true leader of Ummah also. The enemies of Pakistan, as you know, the Jarrett who made the cartoon, our blood, I saw his tweet, YouTube. He said, tell me Islamic extremist Imran Khan is the most he was a voter of terror and an enemy of freedom, democracy, and India. So this man who is the enemy of Islam, he's very happy when Imran is gone. So all Pakistani people is very happy this time, and they are standing with Imran.
All right, I must apologize. Just firstly, Rana, just from a listener point of view, your line's not very clear, so I'm just apologizing if people battle to pick up some of the things you've said, right? But let's stay with us for the moment. So, in spite of what you're saying, in terms of the legal removal, it was completely constitutional, meaning there's a vote of no confidence, which that means the political parties, in fact, vote, and he was removed on that basis. Rana? Yeah, I tell you what. Now we're battling with Rana's line. Unfortunately, we'll see if we can talk to him again. That's Rana Ghulam Abbas, the South African General Secretary of the Pakistani Association of Southern Africa. Let's get another take on this with Suhail Yaqub, who's a political activist on this issue. Suhail, appreciate your time. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak on the subject.
Thank you. Right now, you are in Pakistan, so you obviously would have a very clear insight on those large numbers of people in the streets of the big cities last night. I mean, firstly, how big and what were they actually out there doing?
You see, it's very difficult to give you a number, but what I can say is unprecedented. It has never happened in the history of Pakistan that people have come out on the street. That's probably the last time it was happened in 1977, when people basically came with when the political party came with the slogan of Nizam Mustafa, or the supremacy of Islam, which was again a lie. So that's probably after, you can say, probably after 5 decades, the people have come out on the street and purely and only for Imran Khan, because they felt that he's a sincere leader, honest leader, who stood for the people of Pakistan, who stood for the Islamic Ummah, who basically highlighted to the world the belief about Islamophobia, because Islam is a religion of peace, he should be given the opportunity to complete his term.
So, you mentioned sincere, honest, good leader, very upright, etc. Normally, those are not grounds to remove people. The obvious ones would be, issues of corruption and nepotism, and that's the general rule around the world, right? Or somebody undermining society, because, there's a chance of an election when you can remove someone. To remove somebody in the interim, there has to be massive grounds. So on what grounds, then, was he removed as the Prime Minister of the country?
Because the way the opposition has highlighted, because there's a very high inflation at the moment which is going on. And in fact, the high inflation is going all around the world just because of the corona. The supply chain got disturbed. And now because of the scarcity of supply, the prices are escalating. And same thing is happening in Pakistan. The people, because of the poverty, because of the high inflation, are passing through a very, very tough time. And then Pakistan has got its own problem which they have inherited from the previous government. The power shortage is there, the gas shortage. So all these things have compounded and they enable the opposition to accumulate a combined front against Imran Khan. So these are basically the charges. And of course, there are certain political families, those who own their respective area, and they are called as electables in Pakistan. And they are so shrewd because they know whenever any party is coming into the power, they join them and they have their own agenda. Likewise, these electables have also joined Imran Khan, and you can't form your government without these electables. So probably on the behest of someone, they join Imran Khan, and you have seen that they've defected and then they wanted to go back to their respective parties. So this is how all this movement has initiated and eventually escalated.
Yeah, because what I found interesting in terms of the no confidence vote, you simply needed a majority, a 50+1 majority. Now, many countries, including my home country, South Africa, it's a lot more harder. You need like 66%. You need 2/3 of a majority. Isn't that a massive flaw in the Pakistani democratic makeup, that just 50+1, and suddenly you remove a person, and that's it? That means even the new PM who replaces Imran Khan could also be removed a week later, isn't it?
Well, it all depends the kind of constitution you have. In fact, probably I will not say what you may not share your version of it, because whosoever commands the majority has the right to rule. So in this regard, as per our constitution, who owns the simple majority can be the leader of the house. So this is the way the constitution of Pakistan has been prepared. Of course, in order to make changes in the constitution, you need 2/3 majority. So there probably you are in line with your constitution. If somebody wants to make any changes in the constitution, likewise, as you said, at the moment the simple majority prevails. So if somebody wants to change and wanted to bring us in order to change the leader of the house, you need to have 2/3 majority. So you should have 2/3 majority. So then you have to amend the constitution, and to amend the constitution, you need 2/3 majority.
Okay, that's to amend the constitution. Okay, I got that. Now, the people out in the streets, right? So I've been following certainly on the news and on social media. The people out on the streets, right? They, in fact, massively in support of the former Prime Minister Imran Khan, right? But that numbers in streets doesn't translate into what happens in Parliament, does it? So what happens next to Pakistan?
As you can see, Imran is also enjoying 155 seats in the parliament, and these seats are primarily from the urban cities, and this is where these demonstrations are taking place. So, the former Prime Minister and his party could command a very big number of population, or their following in the population is there. So, they are like the big cities like Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, Rawalpindi, and even cities like Hyderabad, which is again the second or the third largest city of Sindh. So all these people have accumulated in these big urban cities and demonstrated their support in favor of the former Prime Minister.
Okay, now and in terms of global public opinion, is anything you can tell us about who's saying what there?
Well, certainly, I think the pressure eventually mounted on all those quarters who made this change. And if the people can sustain this pressure and they can still come out on the street for probably another 5 or 6 days or probably another 2 weeks, the pressure will be mounted. And then there's a lot of movement on the social media as well, which now plays a very pivotal role in developing the opinion of the people. And those who have not really come out on the street yesterday, probably after seeing the strength and the you can say the enthusiasm of the people now, they will also come out. So it is expected that in the days to come, this pressure will be further mounted, and more people will come out and show their support to the former prime minister.
All right, lots of people talking about the fact that, you mentioned in Pakistan people's political interest. So legally, he could, the removal is quite legal. It's not a coup, right? Because it was done through the parliament, through a constitution, through a vote. But there are many people who believe that besides the political interest that you said within Pakistan that has a vested interest in getting to power, there is also the hand of the CIA and the USA. Do you subscribe to that?
Well, first of all, the change, yes, is as per the constitution. The interesting part is all the political parties, those who are daggers drawn against each other, they have combined, they all have joined hand and form a combined front against the former prime minister. That also speaks volumes of his popularity. That they all needed to combine their strength in order to oust him from the office first. And secondly, you see, this is very, very unfortunate that the big superpowers, they play their role or probably influence in the third world countries. And yes, in Pakistan, right from the independence, unfortunately, the policies followed by the government at that point in time, they got themselves into Tito and Santo and these kind of agreements, which was not in the interest of Pakistan, but unfortunately, the then government joined in hands with America. And from the day one, we have accepted them as a superpower and accepting their influence. So now it has come to an age, and now they feel that this is their right, that they wanted to have a very favorable government in Pakistan so they can achieve their agenda. This is highly unfortunate, but I think now the people have realized that we have to stand for ourselves, and that's the reason they have come out on the street.
Okay, two things, right? Is there a way back for Pakistan, for Imran Khan specifically? Sorry, is there a way back for Imran Khan?
Sorry, come again.
Is there a way back? Is there a way back politically for Imran Khan?
Well, you see, the way things stand, I'm afraid from this particular parliament, I don't think so he'll come into power. The only way is that all those who have defected will join him again. I don't think so that's going to be happening. But yes,
okay,
the possibility is if all those who are in power they decide to go for election in the next 90 days or 120 days or whatever. So if there is a free and fair election in the country, I think Imran Khan can again come into power, and this time he's going to come with a big majority that he won't be needing any allied forces to form the government.
Okay, now we also know that Pakistan as a country for has been defined very much by the military playing a massive role in the running of the country. Therefore, no PM has ever lasted his or her full term, right? Is there a chance that may happen as well? That in fact, looking at the masses out on the streets, that something could happen even before the next election, and there would be another military coup where the military runs the country?
I don't think so. The way things stand at the moment, I think if the military all the time they are having a government who basically favors them, or basically a government who is in line with the military doctrine. So they don't want to take the direct position and wanted to rule the government. And the world is also not very favorable to the countries where the military is in power directly. So I do not see a possibility of a military coup in Pakistan.
Okay, and that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you for your time, most appreciated. Sohail, Sohail, thank you very much for your time. And it's a very, very important issue, and therefore we're going to go back to South Africa and get a South African perspective. Sohail Yaqub, of course, was a political activist as well as a political writer, right? So let's get back to South Africa once again. We had earlier on On the line, we had Rana Ghulam Abbas, the General Secretary of the Pakistani Association of Southern Africa. Hopefully a better line this time. Rana, thanks for your time. So we were talking about already about your stance regarding Imran Khan. What can the South African Pakistani community do here? I mean, what influence do you have?
Yes, Jazakallah for your time. Every Pakistani who is staying in South Africa is very upset and sad on this current situation in Pakistan. Right? In my opinion, this is a forced regime change under the influence of American, and it is totally unfair and illegal. Because it is against the will of the people of Pakistan, which is fundamental of any democracy, that is government of the people and by the people. Power and money has been used by Americans to bring a regime change in Pakistan by planting corrupt political force at the helm of government. Americans are known for conspiring against independent government for regime change all over the world. They prefer corrupt and weak leaders as it is easy to exploit and control corrupt rulers. So that's why they change Imran Khan and want to bring their own people, which one all the time obey them, Pakistan and the next week. And the Pakistani people doesn't allow these rulers to do these things what they want to do.
Yeah, okay. Is there anything else you want to tell us? Your line's not very good. Is there anything else you want to tell us in conclusion? Anything that you'd like to identify that we haven't quite touched on, Rana?
Yeah, we have some demands. We want immediate and free election must be announced in Pakistan. The second, corrupt mafia in power must not be allowed to influence proceeding in corruption cases against them, which are now at final stage. The third, no foreign country, to mention America, Israel, and others, be allowed to interfere in internal affairs in Pakistan. The number four, we want to have good but independent relations with other nations of the world without compromising our position. The last, Western countries must proceed against and return the money back to countries which has been analyzed by corrupt leaders and government officials of countries like Pakistan and other too.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave it. Rana Ghulam Abbas, thank you for your time, General Secretary of the Pakistani Association of Southern Africa, right? So, every day we have a big picture story where we look at a big picture in the country. And we certainly want to talk about the youth, South Africa's youth, and how do we effectively ensure that their influence in the country is greater than it is right now. Not today. We'll talk about that sometime in the week. So look out for that just after 8 o'clock. We will talk about mercy, which I think is very, very relevant in the context of what's happened in Pakistan, but also the fact that we are currently experiencing the month of Ramadan in fact around the world. So we'll talk about that with Ashraf Gangrekar right after this.